Welcome to the Daily Insider here on Vegas Insider. I am Kevin Rogers. Tuesday, January 25th, 2022. And we're going to look ahead to the NBA tonight. Big game in Brooklyn between the Lakers and the Nets. Anthony Davis back in the lineup for LA. And also we will hit on the two conference championships in the NFL coming up on Sunday. Alex Smart will join us coming up in just a moment. Vegas Insider handicapper to talk about those. Also, we'll review the four divisional games, put a wrap on that. And now we're down to four teams left. So we'll see who will play in Super Bowl 56 coming up next month at SoFi Stadium in LA. Before we get to Alex, though, I want to tell you about BetMGM. They are the king of sports books. They are legal in New York now. So if you are in the great state of New York, you can play BetMGM. It's very simple, and there's a lot of great deals right now as far as playing at BetMGM, a risk-free play. Listen to this, up to $1,000 for new sportsbook users. The BetMGM casino bonus code is VI bonus, and when it's used, you'll receive $25 in free play. No deposit required. A 100% first deposit match up to $1,000. And also BetMGM special offer, bet $20 to win $100 on any sport or game, regardless of your wager's outcome. Just click on the bonus code or enter the bonus code VI bonus, and you'll be all set at BetMGM. All right, let's bring him on now. Alex Smart. And Alex, we missed you last week. We're back with you this week. And I guess first things first, thoughts on the divisional round games. Obviously, Bills-Chiefs was the big one. And back and forth, something we've never seen like that before, but Kansas City ends up coming out on top.
Yeah, huge game. Something that a team can build on. Are they going to be in an emotional letdown situation after a game like that? You know, this is something that's been going through my mind the entire time. Shortly after the game, I said, I was big on Kansas City going into the playoffs, but, a game like that has a way of taking a lot out of a team. And where's the maturity of this team? Where's the maturity of Mahomes? Has he become that quarterback? He's not quite Tom Brady yet by any means, but, that's a big question here this week.
Now, you went 3-0 in the divisional round. You had Cincinnati on Saturday, plus the 3.5. They won outright at Tennessee. Rams on Sunday, plus the 3, won outright against the Bucs. Chiefs minus 1.5 against the Bills. I guess I'll go backwards first with the Chiefs. Why did you like Kansas City in that one? What were your thoughts watching the end of that game, seeing all the swings where Buffalo took the lead, Mahomes took him down with the touchdown, Josh Allen took him down, they tied the game. What were your thoughts behind it, and why were you behind Kansas City?
Well, before the playoffs started, I looked at Kansas City as a team that was forming into a groove. And those kind of teams with chemistry, momentum, are teams you always have to look at, talented quarterback play. And once again, in this one situation, Buffalo's a great team, don't get me wrong. And Josh Allen proved his worth, but home field advantage on a short line was something I just couldn't resist. And I think enough edges were there for me to just, pull the trigger.
Now, in the game before that, the Rams beat the Buccaneers, a game that should not have been that close. It was 27-3. The Rams were on the flight back, it seemed like, ready to go home. But Tampa Bay and Brady, they came back. They tied it. Rams ended up winning at the end. But I was with you on the Rams. I like them. I just think getting McVay in an underdog spot was a good one. Why did you like the Rams?
Well, I like the Rams, the way they've matched up previously to Tampa Bay. It's one of the hardest things in this business presently is to bet against Tom Brady. You just have to have you have to feel like your cannolis are growing bigger than your actual ego to actually, pull the trigger on a game like that again. And you can see it. It's almost like we constantly write a script with Brady, and you're sitting there, and even when you're up by that many points, you're thinking, when's it going to happen? When's it going to happen? And it happened, and you're shocked. But, the whole time you're not surprised when it does. It's one of the craziest things ever. And I just like the points here in this situation, really. I knew it was going to be close.
And And the other dog you had, Alex, was Cincinnati and them beating Tennessee outright on Saturday, a game that the Bengals were in control of. It was 16-6. The Titans came back and tied it. Tannehill had a shot at the end, throws the pick, then Burrow leads them down. They kicked the long field goal. But what did you like about Cincinnati in that game facing the top-seeded Titans?
Well, before the game, I was a believer. I'm finally now a believer in Burrows. It's not like he hasn't played in big games before. I mean, this kid is, lights out. Like he can't be intimidated. And Cincinnati, despite of the big swings they've shown all season long, either being behind or in front, like we saw here today, are a team that just continually is competitive, and there's the juice is flowing. And I just like the points here, and Henry, despite coming back, I think there was just too much hype in that situation. I mean, the guy's got a plate in his foot, and I don't think he's 100% yet, and you can see it in the game. I don't think he's the Henry we knew at the early part of the season.
Yeah, and a lot of people, Alex, expected Derrick Henry to run for 150 yards just because he's Derrick Henry, but he's playing not only in his first game, but in a playoff game. First time back in months. He's doing the best he can. He's not in like true game shape. And look, 3 turnovers killed Tennessee. Burrow got destroyed by that Tennessee defensive line. But good job by the Bengals. I want to mention this before we get to the conference championships. You're 6-2 on the site in the playoffs so far. What has it been? What have you seen? What's been working for you? What have you seen so far through those first 8 selections?
Well, looking at the games, we have a very fine edge here as the talented lines makers and their algorithms and their AI and everything else they have that we have to go against these days. There is that edge, and in the first round, you always have to look at favorites. It seems like there's never enough points on the board for to go against favorites in that first round. Second round, once again, the numbers start to squeeze a little bit tighter together, and I feel there's more of an advantage there. And here in this final round, once again, going past those rounds, it's all about lines again. I constantly repeat myself over and over again. It's all about the line, and I think that's what it was in the first 2 rounds.
Now let's shift over to the championship games, Alex, and let's start with the first game Sunday at 3:00, Bengals and the Chiefs. Second time they're meeting in less than a month, and a game, the last meeting in Cincinnati, Chiefs were in control of that game. They were up. It seemed like, all right, they're going to roll here, but then the Bengals came back. Burrow had a long touchdown pass to Jamar Chase. Then they had all those shots from inside the 1, and they finally kicked the game-winning field goal. It went 34-31. Do you see a similar scoring output in the second meeting? You think it's going to be a little more defensive? Again, prisoner of the moment with the Chiefs, seeing all those points last week. We know Kansas City is automatic, but do you see another high-scoring game between these two?
This is a huge question, and the variables here will there be a letdown situation for Kansas, which will affect the total. And I know where the public is looking. Do I want to roll with the public, or do I want to go against them? I don't know if I even want to touch this total because of that. And I'm going to have to look closely here as the week goes on, see what the market tells me about the actual line.
Now, in the second game, a very intriguing one to another rematch. Well, third time they're playing the Rams and the 49ers. And LA, they're hosting the Super Bowl. They know that that's on the verge next week, but they got to get past the San Francisco team, Alex, that they've had problems with. And it's 6 consecutive losses for the Rams against the 49ers. Niners boat raced them at home on a Monday night earlier this year. Second meeting in week 18, LA was up 17-0, cruising along. The Niners came back. They tied it, won in overtime. San Francisco, Alex, been living on the edge because they lose that Rams game. They don't make the playoffs. They won that one. Then they beat Dallas to advance. They beat Green Bay to advance. So still alive for the 49ers. We got to ask for one more game and see what Jimmy Garoppolo can do because the offense did not look good against Green Bay.
I mean, to the public, he's a god. He can't make any mistakes. And Stafford's always been looked at, I mean, maybe because of his years with Detroit, as a good quarterback, but is he, a championship-style quarterback? This is a big game, and you have to really take into consider a lot of stuff. And one of the key ones is, hey, San Francisco has really had their numbers. I'll tell you, you want talk about a coin flip. Now, where's the line going to go for us? That's the bottom line. That's the way I look at it. Coin flip. Yeah. Yeah,
and it'll be interesting to see if the Rams can follow up. that first half they had against Tampa Bay. And look, they went into the Tampa Bay game, I'm not going to say with confidence, but they beat Brady and the Bucs at home earlier this year. Now you're going into this matchup again at home, but you've had problems with this team. And now San Francisco doesn't have to worry about the elements like they did at Green Bay. And you go from, I understand Aaron Rodgers hasn't made a Super Bowl since 2010. You go from Aaron Rodgers to Matthew Stafford, who's had a really good postseason. But then, like you said, you wonder, when is the other Stafford going to come out? Is it going to be the bad Stafford on Sunday?
Right. And, it could be interceptions galore week. This game, to me, rings more on the total side than anything. And the lines makers are going to take into consideration everything we just spoke about. So once again, you're in a battle. You're in a battle here to see where the market's going to take you and what edges you can possibly grab from that.
Now, let's shift over, Alex, a little bit of basketball for tonight. 2 games I want to hit on with you, one NBA, one college. Let's go to the Lakers and the Nets. And Anthony Davis expected to return for LA. He's been out for a month, knee injury, but he's back now. Lakers can definitely use him alongside LeBron. But the Nets, though, no Durant, no Kyrie, because the game's in Brooklyn. He's not going to play. So last time they played on Christmas at Staples Center, Crypto.com Arena, whatever, the Nets were up big in that one. Lakers came back, tied it, and then the Nets ended up pulling away. But that was only James Harden. So no Durant, no Kyrie in that game. Same situation here, but the Lakers have Anthony Davis at their disposal. What do you think? What are your thoughts with the Lakers here as a road favorite at Brooklyn?
Well, there's an old saying in horse racing, for example, when it comes to guys like Anthony Davis and Henry. These are like thoroughbreds. So, one of the old sayings is, third time off a layoff. I don't know if you've ever heard that before. And so when a horse has been off for a while, thoroughbred, and he's a top level horse, then, third time off a layoff is when I look at him. Now, this is Anthony's first game back, but it's interesting here. He is one of the better conditioned athletes in the NBA. Probably because he's on the sideline so often, and he can, maybe he's not in game shape, but this guy's in tremendous shape because the amount of time he spends in the trainer's room. So we'll see where it goes tonight.
Yeah, it should be a really good game between those two. That game on TNT. The late night, I hate to say this, Alex, the Degenerate special, but 2 pretty good teams in the Pac-12, 11 o'clock, Arizona and UCLA meeting up at Pauley Pavilion. I don't know if we still call it Pauley Pavilion. I think it's probably like John Wooden Court at something else. But anyway, Arizona 6-0 in the Pac-12, UCLA at 5-1. UCLA's only loss came in overtime at Oregon. Arizona's been rolling. But the thing about Arizona, Alex, recently beating Cal, Stanford, Utah, not exactly the top teams. I mean, they've been a double-digit favorite in 5 straight games. So now, short favorite at UCLA. What are your thoughts here?
Well, UCLA's had their way with the Wildcats in the recent past, and it seemed they play well. Program versus program. I know the players change, of course, but there is that side to this, and I know Arizona's a 5 starter returning team, amazing, just overpowering. But also in this series, you have to look at this. The underdogs covered 17 of the last 21 times, so you're in this once again conundrum about, is it enough points for Arizona to cover, or could UCLA pull off the upset? And UCLA could pull off the upset. So.
Yeah, look, Alex, 5 straight wins for UCLA in the series. And again, we know the turnover over the years, but UCLA beat them at Pauley last year. They won in Tucson also. So they've had their number in that situation. And Arizona's played really well, but also UCLA, they're still a team that could be in the Final Four.
Yep.
Alex Smart joining us here on the Daily Insider. You can find his picks at Vegas Insider NBA. He's the college basketball leader. He's been dominating college basketball this year. He's had a great NFL season. So check out all of his picks there. Alex joining us here. Alex, thank you so much for the time. We'll talk to you again soon.
Always a pleasure, Kevin. Take care, buddy.
All right, you too. There is Alex Smart, and number 1 in college basketball. That Arizona-UCLA game, that's going to be a great game. 2 top 10 teams meeting up in the Pac-12. And Arizona, not to take away what they've done, but they've cleaned up a bit against some of the lower teams in the Pac-12. Now this will be a major test for them. They're 16-1, and UCLA comes in at 13-2. So that's the standout game tonight in college basketball out west. So it should be a really good game. All right, I want to tell you about DraftKings and the GOAT. That's right. He walks around New York. He owns the town. He wears that crown. He is the GOAT. And you can score your seats to the Tournament of Champions. You can just go to DraftKings.com. The DraftKings Championship Series is the ultimate competition of contest winners from daily fantasy sports, sportsbook, and casino. The one and only place you can compete in the king of competitions. The best of the best in each domain will compete for series supremacy in their own domain's Tournament of Champions. They'll have one goal in mind: win the ultimate crown and earn the title of the greatest of all time, the GOAT. That's right. You can be that GOAT. It's very simple. Just go to DraftKings.com and flag down our friend if you see him in New York. You know, he'll say hi to you, but he's not going to give up that crown to you that easily. So don't think that you're going to take it from him. But you could wear that crown just like him. Just go to DraftKings.com and check out the DraftKings Championship Series. All right, let's look at some NBA for tonight. And I guess before we get to that, let's look at the 4 games from last night in the NBA. And the Bulls had a huge lead on the Thunder. They ended up winning by 1. It was kind of a funky situation because DeMar DeRozan sat out, but then Zach LaVine somehow was ready to play because he was out for a few weeks for the Bulls. So he came back. Bulls were up big. Thunder hit a 3-pointer in the final second to get the push or cover, depending on where it landed. Chicago closed as a 1-point favorite. Chicago was at 1.5 even. So if you had the Bulls up 27 in the third, that's a killer. That really is. The Cavaliers hold off the Knicks in Cleveland, 95-93. Grinded out game between those two. New York off of the win over the Clippers, and they end up losing, but they cover as 5-point dogs. The Pelicans hold off the Pacers, 117-113. That game closed New Orleans laying 4. It was at 3 most of the day, went to 3.5 and then 4. But Brandon Ingram was out for New Orleans. And the Pelicans, I think, were 1-8 going into last night without Ingram in the lineup. So they finally got one. That game went over the total. It was a little dicey because you had a 39-point third quarter, but you had a 63, a 60, and a 68. Thrown to 39. But they scored a bunch of points at the end to clinch the over. Got to give credit to the Utah Jazz. They lost at Phoenix. I'm not giving them credit for losing, but they lost at Phoenix 115-109 as 12.5-point underdogs. All right, I want to show you this. Well, I'm not really showing you. I'll tell you this. No Donovan Mitchell, no Bogdanovich, no Ingles, no Conley, no Gobert. All were out, and they still hung in that game against Phoenix. Utah was actually winning going into the fourth quarter of that game. But when you have Hassan Whiteside, Rudy Gay, Jordan Clarkson, those guys were leading the way. Eric Pascal, remember him from Villanova. Phoenix actually had 7 guys in double figures last night. And they Quinn Snyder had to go to some guys that don't get a lot of playing time, but they ended up getting the cover there against Phoenix. That was pretty impressive. All right, let's look at tonight's games inside the NBA. And let's begin with the Nuggets and the Pistons. They meet up in Detroit. Nuggets laying 7.5, and these teams just met in Denver 2 days ago. 117-111 to win for the Nuggets as 11.5-point favorites. That's now 0-4 ATS last 4 for Denver. But to give the Nuggets some credit, the Pistons outscored them by 10 in the fourth. So Denver was up 16 going to the fourth. Couldn't get the cover, but they still get the win. And now Detroit back at home after a 4-game road swing went 1-3. Only victory came at Sacramento, but they did get covers as double-digit dogs at Utah and at Denver. Now they're a home dog, getting 7.5. Denver coming off a 6-game homestand in which they went 4-2. They went over in all 6 games, but they are 5-1 to the under in their last 6 on the road. So things change a little bit when they get away from Ball Arena. The Hornets and Raptors, they're meeting up for the first time this season tonight in Toronto. Raptors at 22-22 after they lost to the Blazers back on Sunday, 114-105. That was a fortunate over because Toronto was down 25-4 to Portland halfway through the first quarter on Sunday night, but the Raptors came back, made it interesting, lost by 9. Raptors have lost 3 of 4 and 5 of 7, so they've taken a step backwards of late. The Hornets had their 3-game winning streak snapped by Atlanta, 113-91. They were just out of that game, out of the chute. They didn't play well, but Gordon Hayward didn't play either, so that didn't help the Hornets. But this number is pretty amazing. Like, this one has got to be stated. For as much as the three-point ball is so important in the NBA, the Hornets were 4 of 36. They missed 32 threes, 4 of 36 against Atlanta on Sunday night. Miles Bridges, LaMelo Ball, Terry Rozier combined to go 0 of 18 from three-point range. I don't even know how that's possible, but they went 0 of 18 between the three of them. So Charlotte heading to Toronto. Charlotte struggling. Well, I don't want to say they're struggling because they had won 3 straight, but they were struggling that night. And Charlotte was actually a pretty good over team. Maybe those numbers have just been adjusted so much. 233 was a total against Atlanta. Now it's 222.5 against Toronto. But what is that? 7 of 8 unders for Charlotte. So both teams trying to get on track there. All right, the next game in D.C., the Clippers and the Wizards. They hook up tonight, and both teams off a loss. Both teams below 500 currently. The Clippers fell to the Knicks on Sunday, 110-102 as 4-point dogs. Washington, they're trying to snap a 3-game home losing streak. They are wrapping up their long homestand, 7-game homestand. They started off with wins over Oklahoma City and Orlando. Lost to shorthanded Portland. Beat Philadelphia as a dog with Bradley Beal back. But they've lost 3 in a row to Brooklyn, Toronto, and Boston. And the Wizards right now in a 1-9 ATS slump. 1-9. You want to lay 4.5 with them against the Clippers? Good luck. Teams have not played each other yet this season. Clippers continuing their long road trip, but Washington, boy, those numbers are ugly. Pelicans and the 76ers. This is a makeup game from a month ago. We had the big COVID outbreak in the world, but also in the NBA. And New Orleans off that win over Indiana last night. Brandon Ingram, his status up in the air with the ankle. And again, they've won 2 games in 9 opportunities, 9 or 10 opportunities this year with the Ingram out. So that's been a problem. But New Orleans has won 2 straight. They've won 4 of 6, but they've also dropped 3 of their past 4 on the road. So that's all there. Philadelphia just coming off a win over San Antonio, 115-109. And Philly, they've won 7 of 10. It feels very quiet what they've done, but just 10-10 at home. New Orleans 7-17 on the road. And these teams met up early in the season back in October. 117-97. 76ers beat the Hornets in New Orleans. Now, the Kings going to Boston tonight to face the Celtics. Sacramento, an 8.5-point dog. De'Aaron Fox didn't play in that crazy shootout game against Milwaukee the other night. He's questionable. And the Kings right now in a 3-game losing streak. They did cover at Milwaukee in a 133-127 loss. Game went over the total of 226.5 easily. And also the Kings covered as 8-point dogs. Sacramento now 3-0 ATS the last 3 as a dog. So putting that one out there. Celtics, they snapped a 2-game skid. They blew out Washington on Sunday, 116-87. But Boston has lost 2 straight at home. So we'll see what they do tonight. And the Kings continuing their road trip. Kings actually beat the Celtics twice last year, including a 107-96 win in Boston. So keep an eye on that. But again, De'Aaron Fox, he's up in the air. Lakers and Nets. Talked about that with Alex Smart a little earlier. Lakers win tonight. They'll be back at 500. So congratulations to them. But they get Anthony Davis back. Lakers so far on their East Coast swing. Won at Orlando, lost at Miami. LeBron played well the other day in his return to Miami, but the Lakers still lost, and the Lakers have dropped now 5 of 7. Okay. Nets back at home after they lost a shootout to Minnesota, 136-125, total of 237. Never threatened as far as the under. I mean, that just got obliterated. But Nets back at home. No Durant, no Kyrie tonight. So that's a bit of a negative for the Nets. And the Lakers looking to even the score with the Nets after losing on Christmas, 122-115 is 2.5-point favorites. That's what the Lakers were. So the Lakers favorite again now at Barclays Center. James Harden at 36 the last time they played. Patty Mills was huge. He had 34. LeBron at 39. And that was the dreadful Russell Westbrook 4 of 20 game, even though he had a triple-double. Only Russell Westbrook could put up triple-doubles and shoot the ball that horribly. Spurs and the Rockets tonight in Houston. Last time these teams met, the Rockets did win at San Antonio, 128-124 back in early January, mid-January. 7.5-point favorites were the Spurs. Now they're 5.5-point favorites. That total was 234.5. Now it's 233.5 after they combined for 252 points the last time. But prior to that game, there was 5 straight unders between the Spurs and the Rockets. So now you had the high-scoring game last time. San Antonio off back-to-back home losses to Philly and Brooklyn. I mean, look at some of these losses they've had recently. Philly, Brooklyn, Phoenix, Cleveland, who's been really good. Houston's inexcusable. Lost at the Knicks, lost at Brooklyn, lost at Philly. So San Antonio, I mean, for the most case, a lot of their losses have been to quality teams. Houston, they have covered back-to-back games, or actually 3 in a row, but the last 2 was a double-digit dog. At Utah, they won outright. At Golden State, they lost by 2. You wonder if Houston has a bit of a letdown here. 5-game road trip, went 3-2. That's not a bad job by the Rockets. And Houston, for as much as they've scuffled at times, 14-33 since the 1-16 start. 13-17 the last 30. That's a good job by the Rockets, all things considered. Mavs and the Warriors, that's the second game on TNT tonight out in San Francisco. We'll see if Steph Curry gets back on track. He's been struggling. Klay Thompson's a question mark. But first for Dallas, look, Jason Kidd may not get a lot of credit at times, but Mavs at 27-20. They are playing well. They just beat Memphis on Sunday night. Beat Memphis a couple times now. 8 of 10 now. The Mavs have won. Golden State did hold off Utah. They've won the last 2 games by 2 points apiece. But the Warriors are now 2-5-1 ATS the last 8. And against Utah, Steph Curry was 5 of 20 from the floor and 1 of 13 from three-point range. He had 13 points. So Steph has struggled a bit recently. Dallas, though, they did beat up Golden State 99-82 in Dallas back earlier this month. A total of 213.5. So it totaled down to 211.5. You wonder now if we're going to have a high-scoring affair second time around. T-Wolves and the Blazers wrap up the night in Portland. Minnesota 23-23. Blazers right now at 20-26. Interesting flip here. Last time they played, Damian Lillard was in the lineup for Portland. He's obviously not now. But the Timberwolves were 3-point dogs last time they played in mid-December. Minnesota won 116-111. And now this time around, Lillard out. Portland back home after their 6-game road trip in which they finished 4-2, actually 4-1 the last 5. They got blown out by Denver in the first game. Then won at Washington, won at Orlando, lost to Miami, beat Boston and Toronto. That's a really good job by the Blazers, who had struggled on the road for most part of the season. But now they go back home, and Portland has won a few in a row at home, beating Sacramento and Brooklyn as a dog. So now you're getting the Blazers as a dog again against Minnesota. And Minnesota, we know their defense could be a bit questionable at times, but they dropped 136 on Brooklyn in their last game. So that's a really good job by the Timberwolves, at least scoring points, but got to get that defense fixed up. BetMGM, the king of sportsbooks, now legal in New York, and you could use the BetMGM bonus code VIBONUS. New sportsbook users can have a risk-free bet up to $1,000. The BetMGM casino bonus code is VIBONUS, and when you use it, you will receive a $25. You receive $25 in free play. No deposit required. Also, 100% first deposit match up to $1,000. And BetMGM, one of the most well-known sports books in the industry. And you can legally bet on sports now through BetMGM in New York, also in Arizona, New Jersey, Tennessee, West Virginia, Mississippi, Washington, D.C., Indiana, Pennsylvania, Colorado, Iowa, Virginia, Michigan, Illinois, and Wyoming. So you can check them out now at BetMGM.com. All right, so just before we escape here today, want to tell you about what's coming up on the show next few days. Stephanie Odie will be back with us tomorrow. She joins us on Wednesdays. And Bruce Marshall, we haven't had him on the show in a while. Bruce will join us. He is the NFL money leader, and also Bruce handicaps everything. So we're going to talk to Bruce about the NFL playoffs, also maybe hit on some NBA and college basketball with him as well as we continue towards Championship Sunday in the NFL. And after we had 4 magnificent games that all ended in walk-off fashion. Hopefully we won't have 4 duds, or 2 duds rather, coming up this weekend. That's all that you can really hope for, but we'll see. My thanks to Alex Smart for joining us on the live stream today. And don't forget to like and subscribe to the podcast, or to the podcast. Well, the podcast is the Bet and Collect podcast. Like and subscribe to that too. But the Daily Insider, you can subscribe to our YouTube channel at the Daily Insider. So we appreciate you subscribing. You get the new videos and check them out. So that would be greatly appreciated. Just click on the subscribe button and you'll be all set to be subscribed to the Vegas Insider channel on YouTube. So that would be greatly appreciated. Again, I am Kevin Rogers. Thanks a lot for tuning in to this edition of the Daily Insider. We'll be back with you tomorrow at noon. And as always, best of luck with your bets.